just got back from Austin Homebrew, and what I'm going to be brewing this time around is an AHS pumpkin ale. A lot of people don't like pumpkin ale, a lot of people love it, like myself. I happen to love this brand right here, America's Original Pumpkin Ale from Buffalo Bill's Brewery. I'm hoping to mimic somewhat of the taste of that with what I'm going to make today. You can use real pumpkin to make this, but you need to bake it 30 minutes beforehand. I'm just going to use organic canned pumpkin. Alright, so first things first, we're going to bring 2 gallons of water up to 160 degrees on the stove. You're going to want to use a thermometer such as this to keep an eye on your temperature. You can get these at any of your local beer supply stores. Once the water has reached 160, we're going to add our grains and this can of pumpkin to the grain bag. First we pour our grains into the grain bag. And we'll add our pumpkin also to the grain bag. If you're making this recipe, you want to make sure you get non-spiced pumpkin because they provide for you the spices already, and it'll be overkill if you get the spiced pumpkin. Once the water reaches 160 degrees, you want to remove it from the heat, and then you're going to place your grain bag with your grains in the pot. And you want to maintain the temperature of 155 degrees and let these soak in there for approximately 45 minutes. So I just set the timer for 45. Alright, my timer's up. It's been 45 minutes. Now what you're going to want to do is get a strainer, and you're going to lift your grain bag in and out of the pot a little bit like this. Get all that water out. You're going to want to set this grain bag inside of your strainer like this. Let all that water drip out of there. And what I've done here is on the other burner, I heated up 2 quarts of water to 170 degrees, and you're going to want to pour that evenly over your grain bag. You don't want to squeeze your grain bag. You just want to lightly pour this water over it to get all the rest of the flavors out of there. Once we're done with this process, you're going to want to discard your grains, and we're going to go ahead and add another gallon of water to the wort and bring it all back up to boiling. Alright, now our mixture became a boiling brew, so now we're going to add our 5 pounds of extract, and you're just going to want to kind of pour it in nice and easy like this, and just keep a nice stir going with it. After all this mixture goes in here, you're going to return the wort back to the heat, bring it back up to a boil, and you're going to want to keep stirring it occasionally because there's a lot of sugar in it now, and it can burn real easily now. Alright, I got the wort back up to a boil, and I just set the timer for another 60 minutes. So now what you're going to want to do is add half of your golden hops. I love the smell of hops. You never want to let your dogs eat hops. It's worse for them than chocolate. Just a side note for you. Alright, we got 15 minutes left on the boil, so I'm going to go ahead and add my flavoring golden hops. You can get this at Austin Homebrew as well. It's BrewVent yeast fuel. And what this does is reduces the fermentation time. It's supposed to really get the process of the fermentation going real vigorously, and it adds nutrients to the wort that usually isn't there. And you just pull this little capsule apart, pour in the contents, and people rave about this stuff. Alright, we got 5 minutes left. I am now adding the pumpkin ale spice pack. That's where all the spice flavor is, right there. Super strong smell. It smells so good. And just give it a good stir in there. Now the aromas are really coming out. Smells like hot pumpkin porridge. The boiling time has now lapsed. Now what you're going to want to do is cool down this whole batch of wort to 80 degrees within 15 to 20 minutes. There's many ways of doing that. You can get a wort chiller, which is more money. You can use a cooler, or you can use your sink, like I do sometimes here. Alright, so there you have it. That's the ice bath. Cooling down nice and quick. Alright, the wort is now down to 80 degrees. I'm going to go ahead and transfer it now to the primary fermenter. To do this, you just want to be careful and gently pour it in there. Some of these funnels come with screens to catch the sediment. I haven't had any luck with my screen though. It just fills up the whole funnel and it starts overflowing. So I just don't even use it. Now we're going to add a couple more gallons of water to make it 5.5 gallons. The smart thing to do here is just to mark it, your carboy, so that you can see a little mark, so when you're filling up, you have a point to look at. Alright, now using this little bad boy here known as the Thief, we're going to take our beer sample and we're going to check our specific gravity. Now once you get your sample into your vial here, you just take your hydrometer, drop it in just like that. Just give it a little spin so the bubbles are away from it. The original gravity of this recipe is supposed to be 1.052, and that is exactly what I have on here. I have 1.052 for the original specific gravity, so I nailed it. Things are going good so far. So now we are going to add our pitchable yeast. Give it a good shake. You want this to warm up to room temperature, so I left it out overnight for at least 24 hours. You just toss it in like that. And now we're going to aerate. And these little plugs are very handy. If you don't have one of these little plugs, you can just use saran wrap and foil or whatever. It's handy for you. Just slide that in there. Find an easy spot to sit down. I just put it over my knees like this. Start shaking. And you're going to want to do this for at least 5 minutes. What this is doing is aerating it all. This is a part when it's good to have a friend helping you out so you can pass it off at this point. But they're usually not here for this part of the process, but you can guarantee they'll be here when it's ice cold and ready to drink. Alright, the pumpkin ale is all shaken up in the primary fermenter. Now we're going to add the airlock. Just slide that little baby down on there. You're going to want to put this in a nice, cool, dark, dry place. Wherever that may be for you. Mine is my brew closet. I think every man should have his own brew closet. Just like that. Got thermometers in here so I can keep monitoring the temperature. This is where the fridge where I store the corny kegs. And save all your recipes of all the beers you've done. We'll check on this tomorrow, and you should see the yeast activated and eating the sugars. Alright, it's day 2, and we're in business here. The bubbles are happening, and it's like a violent storm down in here. That's all the yeast eating the sugars, making pumpkin ale as we speak. That is the fermentation process in full action.